Muy buenas noches again to everyone. I hope everybody's doing well and as always enjoying family. Y como siempre, Tony, muchísimas gracias for allowing me to get on your platform. Stories written by a current prisoner to share my stories. And like I always start, every recording, I thank every single one of you for all your kind words and for being supportive on the recordings I put up, and most importantly for understanding the message I'm trying to put out for those that do get it, and for you guys' prayers. Muchísimas gracias de nuevo. Okay, well, I'm going to continue off where I left off yesterday. And like I was stating yesterday, everything everything was new. It was just a matter of uh clo- coupling into things, getting used to things. But it was just weird, to say the least. It was everything that I had grown up thinking or believing it was one way, and going through the system, you know, doing my time by certain reglas, obeying certain rules and regulations, guidelines as a sureño, as a camarada. Just, it was a complete 180. That's why I think it's real important for those young guys that are outside listening to my message. Even if you hear it as a, hey, look at this pendejo, look at this, dumbass, or however you want to picture me, I'm fine with it. But do hear, what's out here, and make your own sense of it. Because I'll tell you one thing, they painting things in 1,000 different colors, and let me tell you, it's just three colors in this. It's either black, white, and there is gray in between. And it's usually what this gente, where they're maintained at. They ain't righteous, they ain't all the way messed up. They're right in between. They do something scandalous, then they go and do something positive to take them off their back. And but please do allow me to get into it a little bit. Okay, well, my stay up until this point, it had been a little rocky, and it had been up and downs. I have already gotten my butt whooped. I started to see things that, to be sincere, um, I'm not gonna say I wasn't okay with, but that I consider the whole movement wasn't okay with. For one, how we were in the room getting stomped in by Judas, and you had the Pilis in the next room looking in, looking at them stomping us in. You know, it's just, I grew up always at least thinking and or being thought that we don't work with Judas, period. It don't matter in which way, form, or nothing. We don't speak to them. We don't do no types of deals with them. Least alone, are we gonna let a Judas put hands on a camarada in front of me? Because as far as I knew, we were always obligated, you know. If we see a homie taking off on a Judas, then we were mandatory to take flight on the spot. But okay, this was the first thing. The next thing, I had heard a lot of great things about the Billy Hero, and it was you could say at its time, it was an honor or pleasure actually being there with them. But at the same time, I've been beat around in between politics in this way and that way, so I kind of knew that I was actually in a spot where things could actually boil over, and I could be caught in the middle. And to extend a little bit on this is, when I was in the feds, there was a lot of positive talks. For example, with Sana, with Big Joe, etc. There was a certain amount of carnales speaking highly about the Pili, and then you had those other carnales that were actually politicking, and you knew they were politicking against him for X or X reason. They had the reasons, and which we all know what that was, which was, they wanted to wait, and then they wanted that money to put in their pocket. Mainly, they wanted the power to be the ones, getting things across the border and touching up camaradas and pilis on this side. And I knew, the Moreno brothers and who was clicked up with them, excuse me. You know, they're strong. They're strong in the organization because, they don't only extend in Norwalk. They also have a lot of spots in different spots, and we're talking about homeboy from Corcoran to doing Fed times. He always maintained, on the active side, which was in the front line. So, basically where I'm going with this, I don't want, a big old power struggle, or next thing me getting an appeal from the other Pili saying, you know what, go ahead and start clipping this fool, or start moving on camaradas. That's the last thing I wanted to do, to go against camaradas. I really, at this point, I really started, not gonna say thinking of them like cowards, because I'm not ever gonna put that jacket on them, even though I say tecatos, whatever. Those are just fat. But cowards is just not something they ain't cowards. That's a fact. And I'm never trying to input that. But if they have something strong, there's a rule, that camaradas should not put hands on a pili, but that's always broken. They're always sending camaradas after them. So I didn't want to get put in that situation. So I was always on my tippy toes, and I started conversing with him, and we started chopping it up on basically my career, from when I started, with who I started, and how I went from Ironwood, and how I had that for Terco, and so on and so forth, as I've been sharing with you guys. Not to the extent of details like with you guys, because even though I have shared some grimy, shady stuff about me, just hope you guys understand, there's a lot that I can't put on here. So, anyways, so we kept conversing in regards to this, and but when I hit, that little phrase in my life where I was into Ashibishu, and how everything had gone down, and how it had played out, how we had gotten shipped out of there, me and Toro, and he was surprised, and at this point I'm like, to be sincere, I'm like, I'm like that kid in school that's getting constantly bullied. You see a sign and you're on your toes, thinking like, damn, what's up? There's a reaction to this. He reacted to the statement, so there's gonna be a reaction from somewhere else. It touched a nerve. But it's just, I'm trying to make sense of everything, to be sincere. So he basically started telling me how he's been doing time, who he's plugged in, how he's been able to wiggle out of the system in Mexico, which in reality it ain't hard. In Mexico, there is no such thing as doing life in Mexico. There is no such thing as doing time. The only thing that counts in Mexico is that you have feria, period, and you're not going to the Fed. Because if you're in the Feds and you're able to get your people to move you to a state prison, then you're able to pay with money each day. Every day, I forgot how much it is, but you could pay it off. So But sorry, I keep getting off track. But anyways, a couple days went back after we had this long sit down, and he was questioning me on other things. For example, why I wasn't willing to sit down with him and then the camaradas to drink a couple beers. It's that little gusanito always poking at you. Like, come on. I'm miserable, but come and be miserable with me. And at this time, I didn't think this. I just thought, as I was in this learning process, I shouldn't be getting intoxicated. And that was the reason why I wasn't drinking. And I told him this. But anyways, a couple days went by, and then he told me, like, come on, we're gonna go in to Rosarito to meet up with someone. And I told him, cool. So, we got on the truck and we went to a spot, which was, I don't know if you guys know what a cabaña is, but it was a cabaña out there on the beach. And, I met when we got there, I met a lot of good camaradas from 18th Street, like Spike from South 18. And there was a camarada, I believe it was Bugsy from East Side 18. There was a camarada from Maravilla. I believe he was from Fort or Bent Maravilla. I'm sorry, I don't really recall the click up, but I know he was from Maravilla. They called him Worm. And Wimpy too from Maravilla was there. And anyways, we introduced each other, and the first thought process that went through my head is like, okay, I'm getting introduced to all this, and I understand their feelings, but where's the paperwork? We're gonna be rubbing shoulders, and I have my paperwork with me. But as I stated, I kept keeping all this to myself. It was just little things that I was used to, or that I was made to follow. It was just they were being thrown out the window. Which a lot of camaradas have been put in PC, getting stabbed off for a lot smaller things. So it was just something that was leaving me dumbfounded. But anyways, we walked in the cabaña, and man, to my surprise, it was like, at first, he was sitting down, drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, and he was looking out. And I thought it was some old man, so I thought we were gonna meet up with someone from the cartel. But as I walked in, I seen him, and I remember the first thought that went through my head was like, damn, time hit, and time that will never forgive, excuse me, nobody. And it was a Tio Chino. And I seen him, and we shook hands and started talking, and started telling me, damn, and and he told me how I got out, and we chopped it up a little bit, and he really looked beat in from what, maybe what, 12, 11, 12 years earlier that I had been in Tehachapishu with him. He was a different man. You could tell that life had hit him. But we kept chopping it up, and then he told me he was real glad I was there. And then we started reminiscing about when I went out to the 180, and I had gone out to take over that yard for him, and I had delivered that message to Joker from B&E, and how basically his daughter had left him, and he had locked it up years after that. And then he told me we were gonna go out to do some things, So I told him, yeah, dispuesto, I'm always willing to learn. So I'm like a little child, I'm looking and learning at the same time. So he said, I like that. So we went off alone, and I told him straight up, I told him like, hey, Theo Chino, senor, if you don't mind me asking, and with no disrespect, I want to know if there's any type of conflict out here, and you know why I'm asking this. And he told me, yeah, I know, but nah, you're good, It's what we're doing out here is us. What they have going on out there with their feelings, whatever, that's them. So don't trip. You're out here, you're amongst us, and just follow suit as you're told. So I said, all right, sin palabras, I kept pushing. And while I was asking this, I was basically putting it out there how in in little words, I was worried about the little conflict that evil, and without having to put names or nothing out there, And but he assured me everything was cool. So, anyways, we started strolling around, and we went and we spoke to a comandante, and how it just became a big old kikiri kikiri. I don't know if you guys get what I'm trying to say. It's did you go do this? Hey, this fool's staying over here. I need you to pick him up. And I got this shipment coming in. I need you to clear the road because I want to start setting up the Ubers to get across. So I need it's coming from here and here, and I need you to clear this area. And with all sincerity, Chino had it, and that Billy had it on lock. He was doing his own thing. He had his crew, and he was doing his thing. I'm not gonna get into details on that, but he was doing his thing. Good. He blended in good, and he was setting up cancha. And but this was a man that I sat in the shoe with him. And the time I sat with him, he was a real strict individual. I remember he used to have camaradas whack for fishing on the tier when he wasn't supposed to. He had camaradas whack for talking on the tier because he didn't believe in regulations. So now he's sitting here talking about business with a Huda, how he's telling a Huda to pick someone up for him. So this is like, again, it's throwing me off. I'm trying to make sense of everything. I'm like, I'm lost, as I'm sure I'm sounding to you guys. But I just kept quiet and just kept pushing with the Billy. Just kept allowing him to keep doing his thing, and I was just observing and taking in what I needed to take in. At the end of the day, my job was just, as it always been, to do things as a sureño, which was to fall in line. Man, I know I seen a lot of guys just comment that I'm a hypocrite, that I'm this. Hey, if that's your opinion on me, it's okay. I'm just on here to tell how things were, and I'm trying to be as sincere as possible. And in that process, you look at me as weak, as a hypocrite. That's how things unfolded. So dispensa. But here's the kicker that I didn't understand, right? The comandante started telling Chino, hey, mire, señor, fulanito y sulanito, I believe they call him Sluggo he was from Orange County. I believe he was from Golden West, but don't quote me on that. Excuse me. I guess a couple days back, over a high now or something like that, out in a bar, something had happened, and one of the guys is, tiradores, or the guys running the little cars, delivering, whatever, had said something, or they had words in the camarada's logo. He tipped them up, and he basically was asking for permission from the Pili to give Slogo a calentada. Now, when I heard this, the first thought in my head, to be sincere, was, take flight. The minute you, the minute you see a gesture on the Pili, like in disapprove, handle business. But again, it was to my surprise. He said, sí, a tal hora, come over here, and I'll make sure that. But, from a calentada, it shouldn't go over that. And he said, Simón, 20 guarachazos. Now, mind you, at this time, I didn't know what guarachazos were. And it happened as they have established. And I must have had one of those looks, pendejo en duda, or I don't know. But, the tío Chino looked at me and he told me, like, yeah, I know. And I told him, Mande? And he told me, I know what's going through your head. Just don't question it. You're out here already. Just, are you in? Or you don't think you're going to handle this? And me having that, that pride, that pendejo pride, or that it couldn't be touched or it couldn't be banned, it was just ignorance, to be sincere. My response was, usted ya sabe, that yo no estoy hecho de plástico, perdón, yo no estoy hecho de madera, you can pull, and I'm not gonna break. So he said, that's right. And so we continue. Needless to say, that night, they turned the camarada in, and the Billy told him, ya sabes lo que tienes viniendo. We can't go to war with these people, so it's just a calentada. You messed up. And the homie was trying to explain how, I guess, homeboy disrespected the hyena he was with, and he basically tried to push up on her, trying to feel up on her, and that's when homeboy took flight. Which, we're not allowed to touch women. We're not allowed to surround ourselves with individuals like this. So, in my head, the camarada did what we were supposed to. But, again, they're not the same reglas, right? So they turned him in, and the next day, the camarada got there, and we're talking, and man, I couldn't believe what I seen. It's like I lifted the homie's shirt, and I swear to you, his skin looked raw, like it was gonna fall off. So I was like, damn. I was like, what's up? And then he explained to me what a guarachazo was. A guarachazo is literally a 2x4. They put those, those old tires that they have the wire sticking out. They put it around the 2x4. They tie you up naked. They throw water on you, and they hit you with that. So as you guys can imagine, when it hits with those exposed wires, they're tearing your skin up. So again, in my head, it's just like, man, can't believe this is being permitted, I can't believe that this is being allowed, or that, once again, that we're that loyal that we're putting up with this. Then again, that ego, or I don't know what to call it, jumped into my head again, which was, but if you stay in the lines and you follow what you're told, right, this shouldn't happen. Thinking that you're above everything, right? Which has always been my downfall, to be sincere. But later on that afternoon, a different comandante came. This one was from Tránsito. and he basically asked a favor, and he basically needed a couple cars. So, send us on a mission, which was, we suit up and boot up as Federal de Caminos, and we went out to the little roads on the outskirts, and every good car that came by, we made the stop. We pulled on them, light them down, tie them, throw them to the side, and take their draft log. And basically gave it to these people. That's another thing. We shouldn't mess with innocent people, but to fit in good with these people in the plaza, I guess rules are meant to be broken. So this happened. I ended up staying with the Pili for maybe 3-4 days, and he had a lot of movement going on. I'm talking about movement, from bodegas, fixing up round floods to the point where they were being able to get stuff sealed right to get across that border, and to a lot of things. And I remember at night, it was the last night we were gonna be there. Basically they told us the Pili Evil. He he asked me, like, hey, vamos por unas chelas. So by this time I say, what, screw this. I feel enough tipsy, so I decided, I'd drink one or two with the senor. So we went out there, we drank one or two, and there was some individuals, that disrespected the Pili, and when they disrespected him, I had no option. I knew what I had to do, so I went ahead and took flight. And the Pili, right away he jumped in, and we were getting away from there. And again, they pulled us over, and the Pili, basically, he had his credentials from Mexico. I didn't have nothing. So they had asked us, hey, ¿quién empezó el pleito? Who started the fight? And he basically, me knowing my responsibilities as a sureño, I told the curas right away, it was me and me alone, The camarada here just picked me up and was going to give me a ride somewhere, but he wasn't at the spot where it happened. So, they ended up taking me. And again, it's like a mandatory thing here in Mexico, They arrest you, they take you to the Projo, Separos, they stomp you in, then they throw you into a pinta, and this time I wasn't able to bail out. So they ended up taking me all the way to a place they call Regional de Playas de Rosarito or something like that, which was literally a prison, if you could say that. Because for one, I don't think such things exist in Mexico. You walk in and they're like ranchos. You never see a jura inside. There's women walking around. There's families that stays for weeks inside. So basically, when I walked in, it was real bad because at this time, like I mentioned before, it was there was actually 3 cartels fighting. They were fighting that area, and at this time, the whites in this spot were the contrarios. So right away, when they see you tied up and everything, they ask you, "Are you a sureño?" When you say yes, they do a thing that they call arregar. Arregar means they take you down to a cell, and it's go time. They want to know who you work for, who you out there with, and when you don't tell them nothing, it's every half hour you're getting beaten. So mind you, this was my welcome in Mexico. Within the first 2 weeks, had already been stomped in twice, but after a while, I don't know. I guess the police called in that everything was cool, and later on that night, I was able to bail out. When I got bailed out, to be sincere, they were actually surprised that I was still alive because they were like, usually when you hit this spot, since since right now we're at war, it's like they usually chop your head off, they throw you out through the back. So I had something real good to sit down and think about, because remember I sat down and later on that night we actually told the Pili, the Tio Chino, that we would be back. We were headed down south, and there were some things to take care of, and that we would be back. And I told him, it'll be a pleasure to actually be in your presence again, And he told me, Simon, we'll see each other. In my head, I was like, man, I prefer staying here than, with this other Pili. I have already been stopped in twice, so. And then the Pili Evil had already told me what his mind was, He basically wanted all the camaradas to come together and just build something strong, that our value was going to be worth something in Mexico, which, as you guys know, we're Mexican, Chicanos, whatever you want to say we are, but Mexico ain't our land, We're not in the terre. We're not in our terre, at least. It's like when you come to somebody's house, you follow what's already established and you blend in with that, which up until this point is what I thought they've been doing. But the Billy had his out goals of what he wanted. He wanted to be the one to eventually be the one to start going up the mountains and doing the tratos, not buying them from second hand. Yeah, a lot cheaper than in Cali, but still, they weren't those prices. And basically, we're gonna go down to PB to look at some things. But I hate to be stopping, but I don't want to make the videos too long because I seen someone's comments that they get annoying by the way I talk, and to those that leave prayers and good comments, if it bothers you guys, I apologize to you guys. Because, I try my best. As I stated before, I'm semi-paralyzed from my left side, so that includes my mouth, my eyes. So I try, I really try to block that drag I have in my speech the hardest I can, but I know it's hard to come out. I will continue to be sharing, as we go along, and things got really heavier, and I gotta say this was actually the last time that I got to hear about the Tio Chino being alive. About a month after this is when he had passed away. He passed away, and I'm not gonna speak bad about him because I'm just not. But what could be expected? He was still drinking, smoking. He was still slamming Chiva. It's like you feel sick, at least chill, right? But when there's no knowledge to any type of different way, it's just, I understand it's hard. But yeah, it's when we heard that he had passed on, and a big old chaos happened, at the linea, but I will slowly get there. I don't want to drag this very long. I'm close to the spot where I just want to properly introduce myself, and it just hasn't been too great for me. But again, to those that are always feeding us with me, in any way, shape, or form. If I sound todo way, I discúlpenme. To those haters, it is what it is. You got options. And as a matter of fact, let me apologize for you. The video I put out yesterday, it was just, I'm just a stupid cat, that I had to record for you guys already an hour of my arrival in Mexico and my first, conversations with Evo and other Billies that were there at this time. And when I was done and getting ready to send it to Tony, being a dummy I am, I accidentally deleted it. So I had already gave my word I was gonna send one, so I redid it, and I know it came out todo tonto. I dragged my speech, and then trying to rush things is even worse. But I hope that there is youngsters listening to my message, because listen to it real good. Everything that you're on the streets implementing, fighting for, thinking that that's the correct way to doing, or what you might be thinking of chasing by going to prison, earning your stripes. It is nothing like that. Once they reach that high art, that stage in as a Billy, that's all out the window. This confirmed to me that they make their own rules and regulations as they see fit. And you, me, whoever, as a sureño, as a camponero, you only got one option, which is put up and shut up. Or we all know. That's why, I hope you guys are being able to catch the correct things out of this message or my stories, because I'm no way, shape, or form trying to glorify anything I've done. Nothing. I was stupid. I'm still stupid to this day, but for the right reasons, which I'm gonna get to Tony real soon. And I know there's a lot of people that you see my videos and you're like, oh, this fool's so wolf, he's all puro aire, even though, I am the way I am, health wise, I'm still taking proper steps to do the correct things. But I'm not gonna stay what? Pictures speak louder than words, right? I'll make sure I get with Tony so I'm able to share something with you guys. But please, the only thing I'm trying to put out here is learn from my mistakes and be wiser than I was, be smarter than I was. Love those that are going to value the things you do for them, not those that are going to switch up one thing, being one way one day, then the next day being one way. But if you violate either one, you're through. But with this said, muchísimas gracias again to everyone. I hope everybody's always blessed, as with family, and always stay, true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. Muy buenas noches. Que descansen.